Hello, everybody, and welcome back. This is the final round for the Legacy Fight Night. I am Dr. Lego, and I have my homie here, Prez. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, pretty good. Just recovering from a very timely surgical extraction.
Yeah, we were talking about that. That surgical felt bad, dude. But at the same time,
Oh
that
no,
was
that's exactly what he needed to do though. So mad kudos on that one because if there had been even a little bit of missequencing on that turn from Champagne, they would have died.
that's what we were talking about. Was the sequencing of Legacy is so important. That balance of being able to bring things back, target things at the right time. It's a very skill intensive format, and we show right here, right now. That's the reason why. So this matchup here, this is gonna be a crazy matchup. We've got Dingus Mingus on Punishing Jund. Dingus Mingus, one of the newer players, and welcome to the Discord, Dingus Mingus. And Punishing Jund, this is old school.
Oldie
This is
but a goodie.
classic. This is a
Yeah.
classic legacy goodness. We got Dark Confidants. We got Lily Hey the Veil, three of in the main board. We got
Yep.
Lily Last Hope, IOKs, bolts, thought seizes, hymns, punishing fires, two toxic deluge in the main board. This
Yes.
looks to be a really fun game. And
Yeah. Pope's
Pope,
on Italian Stallion, which is which is a amazing name, but it's basically just it's a Yorion deck involving it's a Death and Taxes deck with Yorion in it with Eldrazi. It's good stuff, but yeah, it's gonna be interesting here. But yeah, the name Italian Stallion is just fantastic. I love
oh yeah,
it.
it's an 80 card Sky Noodle deck. And don't get me wrong,
Yeah,
I love Yorion lists. Yorion is honestly one of my like pet things that I did for a little bit back when like Companions before in the pre-nerf version. And
yeah.
I think this is where Death and Taxes kind of go. There's been a couple of 5-0 lists with it. It's I mean, Death and Taxes has so many options nowadays. Why don't you just like throw them all together and be like, no kiss?
Yeah. So it looks like with the Thoughtseize there we see two Stone Forges, a Recruit of the Garden. I think that's a promo Path to Exile, but could be wrong.
I think that is a promo path to exile. Pope has like all the shinies, as you can tell by his like really nice judge mat and also like his really nice judge everything.
Yeah,
And
no, and that's a good point there, Champagne. Yeah, I was hell bent a lot of those last two games, but excellently well played. Thanks for the games. Looks like we're just gonna get a Rashad and port into a Stoneforge Mystic and go digging through the gigantic pile.
yeah, 80 cards of goodness. So in this 80 card list, we have a one of a walking ballista of four Mother Runes, one Charming Prince, Revokers, Remorseful Clerics. I really like main board Graveyard Hake. Four Spirit of the Labyrinth. Wow. Well, I mean,
Yeah,
it's understandable. Everything draws you cards nowadays in Legacy,
pretty
and if you
much.
don't have an answer for that, like, it's required. As you know, I am a Leavold lover. I love Leavold with like all my heart.
Yep.
So, like, any effects that stop your opponents from playing, drawing cards is like in my wheelhouse, and we'll talk about another card about that in the in between times coming out in the new Commander Legends.
Yeah.
And we see here a sword of feast and famine. So for artifacts, we got Jit, feast and famine, fire and ice, and batter skull. And I agree with the feast and famine. I think
Yeah.
that's a
I
really good play right now.
the one interesting thing about a Yorion 80 card taxes list is the fact that you get to really load up on equipment. I'm kind of surprised that Pope's only got Feast and Famine extra in there.
Well, I
Um,
I think it's because of the fact that you don't want to load up on equipment because that's only good with the Stoneforge Mystic. You want to load up on the one of tutors that you can find off of Recruiter of the Guard and
true.
Flickering Recruiter of the Guard.
Yeah.
So I have recently found a love for Recruiter of the Guard and like one of Silver Bullet effects.
Yeah.
Of course, my Recruiter of the Guard decks are not as good as Death and Taxes, but like having things that you can find off of Recruiter of the Guard is so important. I think Recruiter Guard is like in Allura and stuff like that. I think that is the glue that holds this deck together.
Yeah. Yeah, no, recruiters are very good. Same thing, like even in Painter, I just use the Imperial Recruiter. But yeah, no, recruiter decks are very, very important that you load up on all as many silver bullets as you can.
Yeah, and with Dingus Mingus here, just this one for one removal has been like absolutely great. We're seeing ports and stuff like that, but honestly, just keeping having it that mentality of Jundam out of my top decks are better than your top decks are
Yeah,
pretty real in an 80 card deck
yeah,
versus a 60 card deck.
exactly. Well, and there's also the dilution too, which I know you load up there, but yeah, in a top deck fight, yeah, I'd much rather have a 60 card deck than an 80 card deck. But well, the other thing too is that all the things like the Stoneforge Mystics and the Recruiters of the Guard, they're really good targets to blink with the Yorion as well.
Yeah, so this deck does leverage the Yorion build. So that's one of the more important things I've done with my previous Yorion builds. Hashtag 80 card Yorion Nickfit because I hate myself. It was loading up on the value that can be gained from just slamming a Yorion. Because remember,
Yeah,
Yorion is always an 8th card that is in your hand. It is
yeah,
always there, will forever be there until you pay 3 mana to put it in there. Once again, companions have been nerfed for good reasons.
yeah. And that's just it too. Is it also goes to just speak to the power of Yorion too, about how even after the companions get nerfed, Yorion is still completely playable.
See, that's the thing. You guys talk shit about my Yorion rebellious phase, but you know what? I brought Pod back. I
There you
played
go.
Pod and I had a great time, and it just made me have a love for Seagate Stormcaller. Oh, not Seagate, Spellseeker, which I've still have yet to break in Legacy. I am going to try at some point to break that card. I swear.
I love how this turn has literally just been exactly, or this whole game's just been one for one you, one for one you, one for one you, every single turn from Dingus. So,
Yeah,
and even
and
then with the Liliana down, that's a card you gotta be wary of because the emblem on that particular Liliana is disgusting. Not that it's gonna matter now, but
yeah, so I've actually brought Leon Last Hope. Oh, and then Skyclave Apparition.
yeah,
I was gonna say if you let Leon Last Hope go unchecked, it does win the game against Death and Taxes by itself. Because once again, Death and Taxes is very much a X1 based deck, but
yeah,
Skyclave Apparition, this card, this amazing, amazing card has brought back Death and
yes, Bloodbraid
Taxes.
Elf, yep.
It's so good. Okay. Oh,
Ooh, that's a good cascade.
that's a very good cascade. That's
Wow.
we're gonna refill his hand. And importantly, in this matchup, there's no card draw. There's card replacement in Pope's deck in the form of like things that find other things. But this Dark Confidant is just straight card draw.
Yeah,
That being said, greatness at any cost.
yeah.
So
Yeah, Punishing Jund is not known for being a Dark Confidant deck that runs cheap cards.
yeah, Papa Smurf. It is really the card that brought D&T back. The card is very good. Just being able to consistently keep your vials on 3 over having to go up to 4 for what's it called, Palace Jailer. Even though Palace Jailer has been regarded as the white Jace the Mind Sculptor, it is still that good of a card.
Yeah,
Okay, so we are seeing a looks like a Charming Prince flickering out the
yeah,
Skyclave Apparition to give Dingus a 3/3, but at the same time stealing that Dark Confident back.
yeah.
Oh
Oh,
no!
interesting. We're hitting the Bloodbraid Elf. Oof.
Oh, I would have 100% gone for the
That's
Dark
gonna make a
Confidant.
gigantic token. Especially
Oh,
now. Wow.
okay, okay, I like that. And importantly here, I would just slam that. I would slam that Dark Confident. I would slam that Abrupt Decay now. Prevent any sort of. Actually, no. There's no Ephemerate or anything like that. Boo! If you're playing Spaghetti Taxes, if you're playing an 80 card build, I think this deck needs Ephemerate. I think that card is so much fun.
Yeah. So now this is interesting though too because now Pope has to worry about
Ooh,
dealing with potentially having 7 power worth coming in unless he's gonna abrupt decay right now, which he is.
he is.
So we're gonna see a
And what are
white
we
in
seeing here?
response.
Oh, what is that? Is he pathing his?
Yeah, it
Oh,
looks.
okay. So it looks like he's pathing his to get to 5 mana. Okay. Well, Pope also needs
Yeah, yeah. So
exile.
that was a path to exile. Yeah. So he is pathing his own Skyclave apparition, which is good there. And yeah, so now this is the worry though, is yeah, Pope does have 5 mana, but he's also got 7 power worth of creatures that Dingus did absolutely nothing to acquire.
Yeah. Yeah,
Especially because Liliana and Bloodbraid Elf both already did their damage.
exactly. Exactly. They've already done their things, and this is 7 power coming in. Oof. All right, what we got here? 5 mana plays. Of course, we got Batterskull.
Yorion, but you have to have it in hand first.
Yeah. Spirit of the Labyrinth. That's a nice speed bump.
Yep. Interestingly, Spirit of the Labyrinth is also symmetrical.
Yes, it is symmetrical, and it is a
card
3-1.
design.
That is surprising.
Yeah. Oh, Spirit of the Labyrinth can beat face very, very well. That's how you design a good card, is when it's symmetrical and it can beat.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah.
That being said, I think Dingus is possibly going to miss the card draw here off of the Dark Confidant.
Yeah, I
Okay.
can see that. Oh wow, yeah, definitely get that other spirit out of there for sure. Because that's the other problem too, is that Dingus has to. Oh wow.
Oh, okay.
Oof.
That might be lights out. That was.
Hope is empty-handed, and he's getting crunched for 7.
Oh, wow.
Thanks a lot for the graphic there, Beyond Sadistic, with the illusion token.
Yeah, really appreciate it. Yeah, Lily Last Hope. Oh man, 2 of in the deck, still an all-star.
Yeah, man, this whole thing is just answers back to front.
Well, that's what Jund does though. It Junds you out.
Exactly.
So Skyclave gonna wear the sword.
Yeah, so this is interesting now because the Skyclave apparition is a 4/4, which is, and it has pro green, pro black, which hilariously these tokens are blue, but it's there's still a whole plethora of answers in Dingus's deck, and Dingus is just fearless crashing in.
Oh yeah.
So I find that interesting if he's moving to block the. Oh no, he's blocking the 3. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Always bizarre because Pope's moving the cards back and forth. The displays must be mirrored or something.
Yeah, I mean at this point you just gotta get in damage and hope that your last bit of top decking is better. All right, what are we seeing here?
Oh, Pope's down to 3. Oh,
yeah,
goodness.
Exactly. Toxic Deluge.
And X equals 1. Wow.
Wow.
Or was it for?
It should be
because I think it says 11 is what I think.
no, X is 1. Deluge is X is equal to 1 because there was 3 damage already on there. So it keeps the 4/4 and then gives him a 3/3 in response. Yeah, okay. So Pope's out of there.
Scooping it back up. Wow. That's one of the
Judge
few games I've seen where that Skyclave apparition actually was almost hindrance. But that being said, though, you know, you get the Liliana, the Bloodbraid Elf, the Dark Confidant, all of them. I guess Dark Confidant just died, but the 2 Lilianas and the Bloodbraid Elf, you know, Dingus would have just run away with the game from there.
I think Pope made a mistake there and going for the Bloodbraid Elf. The Bloodbraid Elf had already done its job. It was just a 3/2. I would have 100% hit the Dark Confidant. Because then the Skyclave apparition trades for the Bloodbraid Elf, and you just give him back a 2/2. So exactly. I think that was the one mistake, because that 4/4 ended up just being the game. So we got Pope coming here on the play. Hey, here's the sideboard. Tell me what you think. And of course, remember, one of these sideboard slots is dedicated to the companion, Yorion Sky Nomad. So we got 2 Deafening Silences, 1 Grafdigger's Cage, 3 Surgical Extractions, 1 Containment Priest, 1 Aethersworn Canonist, 2 Rest in Peace, 2 Council Judgment, and 2 Mindbraid Trap. What do you like?
I like Aethersworn Canonist here, actually. Largely because a lot of people probably figure, you know, with Bloodbraid Elf that you can stop it with Grafdigger's Cage or Containment Priest. It doesn't, because the cards get exiled and then cast. So they're not from library, they're not from graveyard, not from hand. However, Canonist will stop those. Rest in Peace could be a thing. We did see a Punishing Fire, and we also did see a Grove of the Burn Willows at some point, so that could be an option as well. I also just like the Council's Judgment because that it's just hard removal for anything.
Yeah. So importantly here, when we talk about like Rest in Peace as a sideboard, remember Rest in
Yeah.
Peace also invalidates the 4 Tarmogoyf in the deck.
Yeah, that is
So
true.
so it's one of those things that Rest in Peace is always pretty much an all-star in the Taxes versus Jund matchup. And I remember being explained from the Taxes point of view in several matchups is Rest in Peace is a removal spell for 4 Goyfs until they remove it.
Yeah.
And even
Yeah.
then the damage is pretty much already done.
Yeah.
So on the Punishing Jund side, very very fine condensed sideboard. We got 3 Pithing
Yes.
Needle, 3 Red Elemental Blast, 3 Collector Oof, 2 Plague Engineer, and 4 Leyline of the Void. What do you like?
I like bringing in just the 3 Collector Roof and the 2 Plague Engineer and call it a day. Even if then you may not even bring in 3 Collector Roof, but I do like the Plague Engineers though for sure.
I agree. I think you can cut down on Lily of the Veil simply because of the fact that the matchup is you're not going to be the edict isn't as much of a value game. Things like the hymn you can cut down a little bit on, but having a sweeper main board like Toxic Deluge, as well as something like Colossus in the main board, which is just a clock as long as they don't
Yeah,
shut down the graveyard, is super powerful. So
exactly.
I think the bringing in the 3 oofs and the 2 engineers is where you want to be at.
Yeah.
So I want to talk to you about a spoiler card. And talking about not wanting to draw cards, we have a new card coming in Commander Legends, which I think is also going to see some waves here in Legacy. And I think this card is going to actually be good, and it's called Hull Breacher. It's called two and a blue.
Oh
It's
yeah.
2 and a blue. It's a Merfolk Pirate, so relevant creature type. It's got Flash. It's a 3/2, and if an opponent would draw a card, except for the first card they draw each turn on their draw steps, instead you create a treasure token. So if
Yeah.
your opponent brainstorms and you flash this in, ooh, you just create
Yeah.
three. You create 3 treasure tokens, and they have to put 2 cards back onto their on top of their library.
Yeah. So Hull Breacher is actually very reminiscent of Chains of Mephistopheles, where it literally functions as a hard nope or a hard punish to any cards drawn at any time outside outside of your draw phase.
Yeah,
So yeah, anytime outside of the draw phase, that you would draw a card, it just hard punishes you,
yeah.
which
It's very
is
Notion
interesting.
Thief esque. It's
Yeah.
it it shuts down your opponent's draw. I think this has a home in things like the Karn Echoes deck. I think it also possibly has a home in maybe even some mid-range lists because if you look at all these Snoko lists that are around there, everything draws a card. Everything
Yeah.
replaces itself. And if you're able to steal those draws, like I honestly think that thing has a home, and also it does replace itself in the form of treasure tokens. It gets you your free mana back, and I think this card could actually be seen play. I think it's
Yeah,
wild.
for sure. Like aside from the obvious thing too, which is just it gives Merfolk an answer for cantrips or something like that, because you could even just be, someone's gonna try and play off on a combo term with Storm or something like that, and you can just go cool Hull Breacher in response
Mhm.
to, or say they load up and they cast a Past in Flames, just Hull Breacher and just stop them dead in their tracks.
Yep. All right, to get back to the game, we got Popoff. He's starting on the most important card in his deck. Let's be real here. It's Aether Vial.
Aether
That
Vial.
card, that card is so important in this matchup.
So I actually don't see Yorion revealed at all.
He should have.
Yeah.
Let's.
I'm sure Pope will figure it out.
Yeah, I think Yorion. I think it was probably just accidentally put back in his sideboard. We'll allow him to declare it, stuff like that. This is
Yeah.
not a. We're not looking at a tournament right now. This is
Well,
just a fun
even
event.
if it isn't tournament, like the thing is I don't know why you wouldn't announce it though, because you can't go above 15 cards in the sideboard. Like, it would be actually pretty funny if you just literally played an 80 card deck, the 1 card sideboard for game 1, and then all you literally did was just trim down 15 cards every game.
Oh yeah.
And then just put Yorion into the main deck.
Like I am. Like that's pretty wild, but you know what? I also think that things like so I proposed this idea. So I have this Jank Brews cruise that sometimes some of the ideas are good, like the Esper Storm, CA Stormcaller deck that I've come up with. I brew with
Yeah.
these people, these players in the Discord. But then the other night, in a fevered pitch dream that was, yeah, not in exactly the best headspace, I said, "Is battle what's possible in Legacy?"
I have actually seen a Battle of Wits deck 5-0 League in the hands of Caleb Durward before,
Oh my
and
god.
it's literally 240 card good stuff pile. That's
Of
exactly
course.
all it
But that's
is.
the thing is like everything replaces itself in Legacy. As we were talking
Yeah,
about, everything is card draw nowadays.
yeah,
Everything replaces itself. So that's the reason why Death Taxes is on for Spirit of the Labyrinth, because it does shut things down.
yeah,
Oh, so we see Surgical, two Skyclave Apparition, and Umazawa's Jitte off of this very, very well timed Thoughtseize.
yeah. So one Skyclave is potentially coming down next turn regardless because Aether Vial is going to hit 3.
Hmm.
Um, I also could see in the case of Tarmogoyf, wanting to take the Jitte out of there just so that way it's gone. Plus, it also adds an artifact to the bin too.
I was just gonna say that
Because
is,
Goyf's gonna go away here right away.
yeah, I think having the extra Jit in the graveyard, it's an artifact. It boosts up the power and toughness. It forces you to deal with the Goyf right away.
Yeah, exactly. On another note, though, if Pope doesn't draw a white source here, yee.
Well, this is the same thing that happens with like Goblins decks, where yes, it's a mono red deck, but they run so many utility lands because that's what you really need in Legacy.
Yeah,
Is like you need those extra like little edges that give you that advantage that build up and then you can win. So
yeah.
things like Rashad Import. I mean, taking him off of green mana, I'm guessing. Is it gonna be green mana? Should be green
I'd take
mana.
him off black myself. Yeah, because if you draw like Colligan's command is a thing,
Hmm.
and then you also have the punishing fire. Like, there's not a ton of options here, I guess.
Do we have K
Punishing
Command in
fire
this
has nothing to
list?
do with black. Hymn to Turok's also a black card too, in
Yeah.
this as well. There are K commands, I think. Oh no, there is not actually. Wow, I was wrong. Just assumed Jund and thought it was there.
Okay. So here's, I don't like, yeah. So you cast a punishing fire into known information that your opponent had surgical and Skyclave apparition.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
there's an
I'm not
activate
a
for
fan of
Vile on
that.
3. I think this was a misplay. I think this was a misplay going for extra damage. And yeah, I think this was a misplay. And this is going to cost some huge because, yep, there's the Grove of the Burn Wellows. Oh, man. Yeah, you knew there was a surgical extraction in the hand.
Yeah,
Like, I would not have thrown that in there until I'd at least seen, a discard spell or something to do with it.
yeah. So the other thing too is that I know you're trying to get in for extra damage here, but even if you do crunch in with the Goyf, right? All you really have to do is that you can just crunch in with the Goyf. You know it's going to get hit anyway, but then at least you can use the punishing fire on the Skyclave apparition. The other reason as well too is that that will give you a 2/2, and you can wait until next turn when you have the Grove, because then when you know about the surgical, you can just cast the punishing fire and then almost dare them to do it, because as soon as they cast it, you just pick it up.
Yeah, indicated. I'm with you on this one. I think this was a misplay. I think Dingus got really greedy here and yeah, played right. And that turn went so well for Pope, being able to tap
Yeah,
down, keep him off with 3 mana, and then eat up 2 cards, and also you have a 2/2 beater on the board. Yeah, this looks like, ooh,
ooh,
okay. Prelate. What are you naming?
3,
I'm naming
absolutely.
2.
2.
Punishing Fire. Oh no, there's no punishment. There was
Punishing fire
punishing
just
fire.
got exiled.
Yeah, I'm naming 3. I'm naming 3.
Yeah, it turns off Liliana, but he is going 2. So that
Abrupt
turns off
Decay.
Abrupt Decay, turns off him to Turok, a bunch of stuff. So
It turn.
hilariously though, actually, if Dingus manages to um cast the Bloodbraid here, which is going to be hard with the double ports going on, but if Dingus does manage to cast the Bloodbraid Elf, and you cascade into a 2, you can't do that. So Wasteland coming down here
Yeah.
a little bit late.
Well, the
But getting
Wasteland
one of
takes
the
out the
ports out of
port.
there.
That gives Dingus an extra bit of mana every single turn.
Yeah.
But man, we're just seeing Pope just control this game too, and this is the power of having the extra 20 cards. Is the fact
Yeah.
that you get to run more one ofs, as well as the fact that you can leverage Vile more because you have no idea what can be possibly in there.
Yeah. Of note, too, we also know that Pope has another Skyclave to just immediately hit anything that Dingus comes down with.
Mm-hmm. This is what I'm talking about: is the power of keeping your Vials on 3. You don't have to go up to 4 anymore. There's, if I'm looking at this list correctly, I don't think there's a single 4 drop in the list. Yeah, everything is 3 or less.
Ooh. And activated it on end step 2 and grabs the Recruiter of the Guard as
Oh,
well.
even
Wow.
better. So then that way you get answers. And if I'm Pope right now, I'm going for Flicker Wisp. It's a strong beater. It flickers at your recruiter, draws you an additional card, and you can then use that to increase your clock. This is now a 2-turn clock.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. Grabbing the Flicker Wisp there.
Yeah, I think Dingus got greedy when it comes to the punishing fire, and it cost him. But Dingus is up at games, and will be on the play for game number 2.
Yeah, or game 3, but yes.
Game number 3, yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Sorry, I'm 2 whiskeys in.
There you go.
I can't help it. Jameson ginger ale, dude. It's my go-to. It's phenomenal. I haven't drank
Sounds
this
wonderful.
in a little bit over a year. Oh, it's wonderful.
Horizon Canopy. That's a good land.
Got a bottle in celebration of the election.
There you go.
Not like you matter, Canadian.
Yeah. It still is going to indirectly affect me, but
Yeah, that's true. Very true.
yeah. Not going to lie, though. Kind of glad I didn't have to deal with being part of that election, though. But that's
Are you
neither
kidding
here
me?
nor
While
there.
the entire mod section were having epic mental breakdowns, you were sitting there laughing at all of us.
Yeah. It was
But
entertaining, not going to lie.
oh yeah. But yeah, I think Flicker Wisp is just a house in here. It gives you so much answer, and honestly, a Dingus has one turn to try and find a Toxic Deluge.
Yeah. Yeah, it needs a Toxic Deluge right now for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So we are getting that, and we, as far as I'm aware, we still have the Grove in hand as well, so we can see a Bloodbraid Elf this turn.
I'm sorry, I was just I was just. Oh, okay, we got Bloodbraid Elf, but
Cascade.
Lady Vito's. Try it with ginger ale. It's try Jameson and ginger ale. It's phenomenal.
Ginger Ale's always good. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So we're going to get a Flicker Wisp on the Recruiter of the Guard. So this is interesting here, too, because now, even if we do hit the Toxic Deluge, ooh. I almost don't like casting that here.
I wouldn't cast it.
Yeah.
Send it to the bottom of the library.
Yeah, just because you need to pad your life total a little bit. But the other thing here as well is that, that being said, though, we do know that there is another Skyclave in hand for Pope.
I think it's too late, and the 2 extra damage increases their clock.
That's true, but the Skyclave will get rid of your Bloodbraid Elf, so...
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Yeah, looks like it's not going to matter because it's a path, but...
Of course.
Yeah.
And we're seeing the Recruiter come back and finding what?
I would imagine just another Skyclave here.
No, just another Flicker Wisp.
Another Flicker Wisp, yeah. Keep this train going, I guess. Value train.
Understandable. I mean, having being able to blank any sort of targeted removal, but that being said, there's not really much target removal now that the.
That being said, as well, Pope could also just flash in the Flicker Wisp and then exile the Bloodbraid Elf mid combat and then just crash with the team.
That is true. That is very true.
Pope has exactly lethal on board. We're just gonna path it here.
Path, find a basic.
Yep.
Hold on, how many basics is that? 1 forest, 1 mountain, 2 swamps, 4 basics in a Jund deck.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
There's no Deathrite Shaman anymore, Doc.
Yeah, well, obviously. Like, do I need to go break out my mat? Like, I love Deathrite Shaman. But, yep, looks like Pope sealing that game too. Wow, that was really good. And honestly, I think it comes back to that turn where Dingus was just a little bit too aggressive with that punishing fire. That Goyf could have ran through that entire matchup, and even then, and if they did see the Skyclave it, you then use the punishing fire to get rid of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think it's really hard for Pope's deck to actually beat punishing fire. So because of that, I really think that having the punishing fire surgical was a huge misplay. It might have cost him that game.
Yeah. But that being said, though, live and learn. So hopefully he just doesn't do it again.
Yeah, well, the Sanctum Prelate came down in name too, so
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything that you want to change up on the play versus draw. So, what about you? Any spicy cards from Commander Legends that you're interested in?
I think I saw one, but I can't remember. I'm one of those bitter old man type people. Stop adding new broken stuff to my format type thing. So
Understandable.
I am like I'm half tempted to just be, if I open any opposition agents, I'm ripping them right in half, because then there's one less in the world. But
The
that being
card,
said,
the card does seem pretty busted, and
yeah.
so tell me what you think about Opposition Agent. And so we talked about it with a little bit with Beyond Sadistic. What do you think about the card? Do you think it's
I
legacy
think,
playable?
oh, it's absolutely legacy playable. In my case, I'm almost wondering if it's too punishing. Like, it would be one thing if it was, your opponent controls you and chooses what you search, right? So if you crack a fetched land, and then say, for
Then it get Beyond
example, you're
Sadistic.
running, like, say you're running shocks in your deck, right? And they make you grab a shock and make you pay 2 life for it, that's one thing, right? However, when it's just, okay, I'm going to crack this fetch land, response opposition agent, cool, I'll steal your land for the turn. Because you're not just stifling them by virtue of turning the search off, you are actively stealing their cards from them. And
Exactly.
so, for example, like, it could also just be me as a painter player, where I have, 4 Recruiter of the Guards, 5 fetch lands, a bunch of Goblin Engineers, Enlightened Tutors, stuff like that. I just get completely annihilated by this card. And
Yeah. So
that's the
I
type
think
of stuff that it's like, not only that, but it just almost all the tutor based combo decks are turned off. One of my other decks that I've been playing recently, which is a Knight of the Reliquary deck, just gets completely hosed by this as well. On top of just the ability to just turn off fetch lands, because you're actively destroying their mana while ramping yourself, because now you don't have to spend your lands to do that.
yeah. So indicated. I think you're completely correct, Prez. I agree, but I also want to bring up indicated points, and it's the fact that this card is a 1 card hoser against Doomsday.
Yeah.
Like as we've seen here in the meta, Black Sky Doc, phenomenal Doomsday player, already tied with the most amount of wins, and honestly, I they have to adapt to this.
Yeah.
Doomsday literally cannot beat this card. I
No.
don't think Doomsday can beat this outside of like thought seizing it out of your hand.
Once it's, yeah, a resolved copy of
Once
it, yeah.
if it resolves, that's it. It's game's over. So I really think that this card is gonna have for that exact reason. I think it's gonna be playable. Now that
Yeah.
being said, the scary thing is I'm afraid that this card will push out Green Sun Zenith because of
Yeah,
the fact
and
that yeah, with Green Sun Zenith, I think this Green Sun Zenith decks can't beat this card.
no. And that's another thing too. And that's just it, is like, from a power level perspective alone, I think the card itself is fine. The problem is what it does if it does resolve, because you could just be like, oh, Force of Will's legal, so the card's fine.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
no, what happens if you don't happen to have your Force in hand, right? Then you're just straight up dead.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
again, a deck like Doomsday, it's just horrible, because you exile your graveyard library, search for 5 cards, but your opponent gets all 5 of them. and just oh my gosh, it's just real bad. So I don't know that card I am absolutely dreading it. So there's a small part of me that kind of hopes Flavor of the Month Delver just jams it and takes down like 800 events in a weekend,
So
and just
it gets banned.
strictly on the back of that card. Because it seems to me that every time a card's been indirectly banned, it's been Delver's fault. So that could be it, but that's neither here nor there, and I have no actual hard evidence to back that up. But
So wanted to give a big shout out to Erta280Z. Thank you for the follow. Really appreciate it, and you're helping Legacy grow. And yeah, so to bring it to this game here, though, we see. I mean, searching in this game, Stoneforge Mystic.
yeah,
I mean, you now get to steal their best Stoneforge target, stuff like that. So, like, I think the card is real. I think we're gonna end up seeing something with it, and like, it's gonna be one of those things that you're gonna have to worry about in the future when it comes to Legacy.
yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
Importantly here, though, we are seeing that Dingus does have the combo of Punishing Fire and Grove of the Burn Willows going.
Yeah.
So that's gonna help facilitate this. But I mean, Pope's still got a lot of time and a lot of leeway here. It's not like the Punishing Fire kill is very fast.
No, and in this case, Dingus is just using it as creature removal, which I totally support here as well, because that you can't let this Batterskull resolve. Unfortunately, those shields are down. You had to lose it there, but there's not really much else you can do in that particular case as you are short on lands. Because if Dingus had a second red source or played a second red source afterwards, that would have been a misplay. But in this case, I totally get what they were doing is unfortunate.
Yeah. Oof. And
That's
that is
also
a
a very black heavy hand.
that's a very black heavy hand with nothing but green red available to you. Wow. That
Yeah.
is that's pretty harsh.
Yeah.
Okay, so all the punishing fires are gone. So this is pretty much Pope's wheelhouse. Pope can do a lot of damage here, and
Yeah.
especially with this Rashad
You need
import
a
up and
collector
an
roof
active
right
vial,
now. Get a collector roof right now, Dingus.
it's not even gonna happen. You're gonna have to. They're gonna tap down this green source. So you got top deck a
Oh yeah.
land and a.
There's
Okay, so we
land.
got the land.
And I actually like going I kinda like going Bayou Dark Confidant here, but at the same time I'd also understand thought seizing, because you have two thought seizes in hand.
Yeah,
So
yeah. That's
actually I do like the basic swamp here, just because then you're not dead to a wasteland.
yeah. I agree. I think keeping that, but you're gonna have one turn with it. So what are you gonna decide?
Yeah. Yeah, you
Looks.
take the Thoughtseize, I think. Flicker Wisp coming in.
What are
Probably.
you flickering out? Oh, turning the
Oh,
wasteland.
interesting. Wasting the port right now.
Yeah, I think that was a good play.
Yep.
Hey, what do we see here? Batterskull and Swords to Plowshares. Okay.
Huh. Interesting. Because
I
Collector Roof
think
is not a note to Batterskull, but at the same time, you need to draw 3 more lands in order to play it. I
you,
actually kind of like the swords here.
I take the swords here. I would 100% take the swords here. That being said, you're about to take 3 in the face and get 2 Jitte triggers on, so it's not like your Dark Confidant is going to do much.
Yeah. No, and that's, I think, it is you just kind of have to. Yeah, you take the swords there because I think you're still just. You must draw Collector Roof here.
Yeah. Oof.
Or Pithing Needle if Dingus brought them in.
Oh, man. Oh, Jit counters. The one counter I hate more than anything. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. It does everything. Kills your stuff, pumps your stuff, gives you free
yeah.
life. Fuck it.
I was telling to some players before who are not legacy players, they're like, oh, Umezawa's Jitte should be fine in modern. It's like anyone who says Umezawa's Jitte is not just objectively the best equipment card ever printed is just straight up wrong.
You 100%. You
just
everything you say is
objective
correct.
fact, it is the strongest.
I was so sad. I bought the from the vault that had the Umezawa's Jitte in it.
Yeah.
And I turned my eyes away from it for a second and somebody stole my Jitte. and I was
Oh,
so upset. Well, what had happened was I had bought it at my local game store, and basically I walked out with it, but I cracked it there, and I was so excited, and the JIT had fallen out, and I didn't notice it, and
oh, that sucks.
someone swiped it up, and I was so upset. I missing that I was so angry, and the store was like, we can't do
Ooh,
anything about it, like we didn't see anything, like
yeah.
did you like, yeah, it felt bad. I've been playing this tournament. Yeah, this is indicated. Yeah, this is where the list came from. Is actually Cloud, who did several 5-0s with an 80 card Yorion list. Oof,
Yeah,
deafening silence.
which is
Oof,
really good against Bloodbird Elf.
very good against Bloodbraid
Yeah,
Elf.
I think you
And
just have to jam the Bob here just because it's removal, but at the same time, this Flicker Wisp is actually lethal.
yeah, this Flicker
If
Wisp is 100%
if
lethal right
if
now.
this is actually at 7, this is just a lethal attack straight up.
Yep, I think that might be it. Pump, pump,
Pump. Yeah, and then
and
yeah, scooping
that's
it up.
that's GG.
That's
So
an unfortunate mana screw there for Dingus, but well played.
So Pope actually coming in and taking the win for the mods. So the mods didn't get totally swept tonight. So
Not totally swept, yeah.
not totally swept. So we came back with one win at least. But yeah, the Italian Stallion taking it out, and yeah, the Sky Noodle is real in Death and Taxes. And I think that games when you can see an Aether Vial on turn one are completely different than games without Aether Vial, though. I think this deck really leverages Aether Vial more than any other deck in Legacy.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, indicated that is a good point. Deafening Silence actually does not stop the Bloodbraid Elf, because Bloodbraid Elf is a creature spell which does not trigger the Deafening Silence.
Yeah, exactly. So you can still get a non-creature spell off of it. All
Yep.
right, so that was a fun night of Legacy. You know, we had a
That was
couple
a
of
great
good
time.
matches, some fun Gobbo plays, some fun brews, and it's really great to see the legacy community coming out and having a good time. If you want to join in on the fun, and remember we do events weekly. We have Legacy Fight Night, our weekly tournaments, we have our FNMs, our LFG channels. We have a leaderboard. It is a massive community of over 1,600 people that just want to play a Legacy and have a fun time.
It's a fantastic time. Would highly recommend joining. It's
Yes,
uh, it's a really good time. If you have any interest at all in Legacy, definitely go check it out. Especially because that we do allow proxy play in case, because Legacy is an expensive format. We understand
yes.
that. We would rather have people be able to play a format that we love than try and gatekeep them out. So
Exactly. We are a very open and welcoming community to everybody. So hit exclamation point Discord in the chat. Find one of the links, come hang out and have a good time with us.
yeah,
So from everybody here at the Legacy Discord, have a good have a good rest of your night, and we'll see you and let us be your local meta.
yep. Have a good one.
Bye.